And welcome to this week's edition of Break the Bank. I'm Jeff DeForrest. Very happy to have you guys with us for episode number 2, part of the big blockbuster programming now on Bleacher Brothers every Wednesday. And we're happy to kick it off. And we were happy to kick it off last week with something that we absolutely have to celebrate right here at the top. It's surprising the man hasn't lit up a cigar. But we all owe a salute to the great Mike Jones up there in the right corner, as he was the first to really break the bank. 5-0 last week, guys. 5-0. Mike Jones.
Congratulations, Mike.
5-0. He hit them all. He hit the 3 mandatory games. He hit the 2 electives that he had with his beloved South Carolina. And think about this, guys. Could it get any better for the degenerate? We now have the pros to factor in beginning tomorrow night with the Eagles and the Cowboys, which is going to be one of our community games. Happy to have you guys with us. Let me introduce the crew to you once again. Mike Jones, Mr. Wonderful, up there in the corner, 5-0 last week. The great Troy West, all the way from the great state of Washington, Seattle, Washington. Where are you, by the way, Troy? You're always in some kind of exotic location, usually a casino. But where are you now? You're lined up against a brick wall. Are you in a firing squad situation? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm actually at my favorite coffee shop, guys. It's where I do all my homework for the week. I love this place. So I'm out on their patio enjoying a nice little Americano and getting ready for the weekend.
Wait a minute. You're in Seattle, Washington, and you're not drinking a Starbucks?
No, gosh, you know what? That word's probably the number one word you're not allowed to use in Washington. Believe it or not, if you use the word Starbucks, you'll get in trouble. That guy sold the team. Howard
Yeah.
Schultz and Starbucks sold the Seattle Supersonics. So you use that word around here, you're in trouble.
All right, and we have Frank G, who joined us last week. He's a horse racing expert. He's now involved in all kinds of crazy stuff with his gambling websites that he's building and out of New Jersey. Frank, how are you, my friend?
Good, Defa. How are you doing today, buddy? I wish I could have started off a little better. This 1-4, not so good. But congratulations, Mikey. It's too bad Mikey didn't have any side action going from week 1. But
well, notice we didn't mention your record there at the top of the show. But, that's okay, man. Everybody, you have to be able to survive the weeks where you're taking some tough beats. That's for sure. Mike and I, of course, are coming to you from South Florida, where Bleacher Brothers originates, and great to have you guys with us for the show. All right, let's go around the horn here first. We'll start with you, Mike, since you were the big winner last week. Your thoughts, general sentiments about what happened in what was officially week number 1 of the college football season. It was the second week of action. We had some blockbuster games, and you hit them all. Notre Dame, Miami, in spite of the Cristobal factor, Miami was able to prevail, and they were getting 3.5 points at post time. They ended up winning the game outright, so a money line play was even appropriate there. You had LSU and Clemson. I think both of you guys, Troy and Frank, like Clemson in that game. And you came through like I did with the University of with LSU and Ohio State and Texas. Also a huge game. We saw Arch Manning make his debut. It was less than stellar, but nonetheless, a lot of people still think he may be capable of coming back and winning a Heisman. But it was a big victory for Ohio State. What were your thoughts about the first week, week number 1 officially of the college football season?
I actually can go back and listen to what I said, and I really thought the tough part of last week was the younger quarterback with lack of experience going on the road to play in a big environmental game. Exactly what happened with Texas, and I think it happened with Notre Dame too. You had C.J. Carr, nice player, going to probably amount to something. Probably by the end of the year, we'll look back at this game and say, oh, if only he had more experience. Going down to Miami in a tough environment, tough spot to play in. Didn't play poorly, but didn't get it done when probably had to late in game stuff. Same thing with Arch Manning. Looked incredibly inaccurate, extremely disappointing. Well, maybe the moment got to him. A lot of hype around his talk. Everybody talking about him. Heisman Trophy, first pick of the NFL. You try not to listen to it. He's got the pedigree. But, boy, did he look inaccurate at times in that game. And as I was watching it, I'm like, wow, really shocking to see what happened there. It really surprised me. If we had under 22 plus $1 million, we would have been a winner. And who would have thought that game would have only produced 21 points? So that's what I saw. And in the LSU game, I really just thought Brian Kelly wasn't going to go 0-3. Kind of knew what he was doing with the schedule. Clemson really has been kind of disappointing. They played it a little differently, not using the transfer portal. They broke down and did it. I think, again, listen to the hype of all this. And as a guy who's studied this for 40 years, sometimes you don't believe the hype. And so I kind of went against the norm of the hype. And I think that's where a lot of my success. And probably the biggest game we didn't talk about, to me, who I would take as a flyer on the front run of a Heisman, was Tommy Castellanos of Florida State, who goes in and takes on an Alabama team wins as a 13.5-point home underdog and shocked everybody. And now everybody's calling for Caleb DeBoer's head now at Alabama, which I think might be the big story of the weekend, was what Florida State did to Alabama. And yet we didn't have a decision on that. We didn't have a pickle on those games. So I thought it was a great weekend. I just think in the future, maybe these schools should maybe schedule like Michigan did with the New Mexico or Illinois State with Oklahoma to make the second game, maybe get your feet wet and then play it. So maybe week 2 should be the real bigger week like week 1 was last week.
It's just the opposite. I mean, this week looks like the clubbing of seals almost across the board. Troy, what did you take away from that week of action in the college grid?
Yeah, an interesting week. Try not to put too much value in week 1, but yeah, I mean, Texas, comes out the number 1 team in the country. Arch Manning just did not look the part whatsoever. Was it an anomaly? I don't know, but I just don't think he looked the part at all. Ohio State, their defense looked absolutely phenomenal. But you know what? Texas to me was the biggest takeaway. Like you said, Alabama did not look good at all. Alabama, from an effort standpoint, Florida State, that didn't even look like a fluke. It just looked like Florida State was the better team on the field. An amazing job by Mike Norvell and Gus Malzahn to turn it around in just one season. So I think my biggest takeaway was how bad did Texas really look and how bad did Alabama look?
Frankie, any impressions, things that stuck out for you? Obviously, at 1-4, you're peeling a little lint out of your pockets going into this week. But we did suggest to everybody to tread lightly until you see one. What were your thoughts about what transpired last week?
No, I'm definitely trying to forget week 1 altogether here, but I did think LSU looked really good. The defense played good. Quarterback looks pretty good. I think LSU is going to have a big year coming up.
You got to love Dabo, too, crying like a baby after the game. And I love the fact that Brian Kelly, who looks like he's shooting Ozempic or something, it looks like he dropped a lot of weight. And he did drop a bomb there on Dabo Sweeney, who was crying. And he said, well, I would give our team something in the 50s if this was a test. And I'd give LSU a 65. And Kelly fires back at his own press conference. 65? Obviously, Dabo didn't see the second half because we dominated that second half to the tune of 14-0. So the insults were flying. There were a lot of disappointments. DeBoer is backpedaling a little bit. The cry is probably out there all across that hillbilly state of Alabama to bring back Nick Saban. And the Florida State game, I would have to say, I agree with you. Guys, that wow, what a surprise that was. I thought maybe they could be within the points. Went off, I believe, 13 and a hook. But I was shocked when I saw the result. I didn't get to catch the game live, but when I saw that Florida State had not only won but dominated, it was a bit of a surprise. This was a 2-win team just a year ago. All right, here's the way that we work the format. We have our community games, our collective games. We're going to pick out 3 of them, and we have the pros to factor in this week, which is really exciting, including a game tomorrow in the NFC East, big rivalry game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So each of our handicappers is going to pick the 3 mandatory games and then 2 selected games of their own, 2 electives. So we come out with a total of 5 games, and that's how we got to 5-0 with Mike, 1-4 with Frankie. And I want to say, 3-2, Troy, last week, or was it 2-3? I missed one of your games, but we're gonna try and nail them all this week, and we'll see what kind of agreement we can come to on these games. We're going to start it out in the pros tomorrow night. NFL season gets underway. The Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, going against the Dallas Cowboys, who made a lot of noise in the offseason, as they usually do, most of it coming from Jerry Jones. People are thinking that this guy was a buffoon for trading Micah Parsons and getting into the whole scrap with him to begin with. Talk about the lines are changing. Green Bay Packers immediately became a much stronger favorite to possibly win the Super Bowl. And I believe it's also had a big effect and impact on the opening week's lines across the National Football League, including the Packers game against the Lions and this game that we're about to talk about now. So we'll start with you, Frank. We have the Eagles on Thursday night, tomorrow night, coming up. And they are taking on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure. You're a Jersey guy, and I know Mike's a huge Giants fan. Is this the big rivalry game for the Philadelphia Eagles, Eagles-Cowboys, or would the Giants be in that category? And then how do you feel about that line is moved, too? I saw it at 7 originally. I believe latest I saw was 8 and a hook favoring the Eagles. So a lot of money coming in, steam on the Eagles side. What do you think, Frank? Which way are you going on this first of our community games?
Yeah, well, definitely a big rivalry. Eagles-Dallas, of course. But for this first game, Now, Eagles have won 11 in a row at home, and Dallas is 1-5 against the spread in its previous 6 road games against Philadelphia. And I did bet this game like a week ago. I got it at -7. As you said, it moved up to 8.5. But I think the Eagles, of course, will be able to run the ball. And I think the Eagles are going to score like 30 points this game. I'm thinking I'll take the Eagles. I'd lay up to 9.5, even if the spread goes up. I like the Eagles 32-17. So I'm going to lay the 8.5 points.
All right, and at 49 points, that would give you the over there. I had it at 47 and a hook. So
hey, since you're saying it, for my second pick, I do want Eagles over 47.5. So I'm in for my first alternate pick.
Okay, very good. So we got a total there coming from Frank. He likes the Eagles now. Now, where do you stand being a Jersey guy? Are you a Jets fan?
I'm a loser Jet fan my whole life. We started going to the games when I was 17 back in the Rich Kotite era. I think the first season I was there, they were 1-15. And, I was in the parking lot all by myself drinking a 6-pack and went and sat in the last row. And that's my Jet. We became Jet fans. We couldn't afford the Giant season tickets when we were kids.
Yeah, a lot of optimism there surrounding the Jets this year, at least from what I've seen in my New York Post, which I get every day. Troy, what about the Eagles and the Cowboys? Where you positioning yourself on that one?
I like the Cowboys in this one. I just think 7 and a hook's too many. You see these teams open up.
Got a little internet interference there. All of a sudden, got a little outer space effect there with Troy. Let's take Mike's opinion first here and see if we can't correct that. Mike, what about the Eagles and the Cowboys? And would you make the Eagles-Cowboys the biggest NFC East rivalry?
I would say probably for both those teams, just because a little championship history, that might be. I kind of would think we're somewhere in the mix there with both these teams. I think if we play a big game down the line, I know we've had 2 playoff appearances as a Giant. I'm talking when I say we, against Philadelphia in the past. Maybe I think actually 3 we've had. So we played them in the playoffs, not so much Dallas in the playoffs, although we did beat Dallas in the division game in 2007 to get to the Super Bowl. Here's my thought on this game, which I find fascinating. I love division matchups. I think it's the most exciting football. I think since the league changed its format to go to 32 teams in 8 divisions, these 6 games are so important. For the Giants, their 0-6 last year was the first time we were in an 0 in the division ever. I think these are where you have to change your team's momentum and make moves. You have to start with these division games. So this is a really exciting game for me. I'll be glued to it. And here's my thought. The line opens up 7, goes to 8.5. Now I see 8s out there. Nobody's giving Dallas a shot that I hear. Everybody loves Philly. If you're going into the suicide pools in Vegas, where you're getting millions of dollars, they're already talking how many people are taking Philly. So everybody has to give Dallas a shot. The reason why I like Dallas +8 is the fact that 66% of division dogs cover in the first week. So we don't know. And we have 2 games, and I'm going to elaborate on the second one with the Commanders and the Giants a little bit later. But I just see this as a rivalry game. Nobody's giving Dallas a shot. Are they going to be better with Micah Parsons? Are they not? Was it a distraction? Does the team get focused? Does Dallas take does Philly take a little bit off? We got a celebration of a banner raise. We have, the fact they won. I'm just saying a touchdown or more in this particular rivalry, first game, not knowing what expectations are. I'm going to take my chances. When in doubt, always take the underdog. But in this particular case, I actually do like Dallas a little bit plus the 8.5.
All right, very good. Now, Troy, did you get kicked out of the coffee shop there because you got Starbucks? I mean, what happened to you?
You know what? I didn't know where that static was coming from. So, but I'm with Mike. I like the Cowboys here. I just, a little bit biased, diehard Cowboys fan, but I think this is their Super Bowl. This is Brian Schottenheimer's Super Bowl. This guy's getting up for this game. I'm not saying the Eagles won't be up for the game, but the Super Bowl hangover historically has not been a game that's been good for the returning champs. They're at home. I think this is more of a letdown game for Philadelphia. And I just think Dallas, man, it's going to be a blood, sweat, and tear type of game for them. I ultimately don't think they win the game. I think they could even backdoor at the end. I think it's going to be a 28-24 type of football game. I think the Eagles probably win this game, but too many points here for, a touchdown and a hook. I'll take that all day.
All right, and the money obviously coming in. People are sending it in. I don't know if you were at the casino. Were you online behind a bunch of Eagles fans that were just pouring the money in, Troy, on Philadelphia? Because I was surprised to see that line jump to 8.5 in this one. What do you guys think? Frank, was Jerry Jones out of his mind to trade Micah Parsons? I mean, normally unless the guy is a quarterback, you're thinking one player isn't going to make that much impact. You do need now quarterback play, and obviously putting pressure on the quarterback, as opposed to back in the day. The philosophy was if you can stop the run, you were going to have a successful season. Now the emphasis has changed. How much does that change the dynamic for the Cowboys and Green Bay, for that matter, in your opinion, that Micah Parsons is now going to be playing for the Pack?
The point spread did jump up right after that, so you have to say maybe it's worth 1.5.
Yeah, what do you guys? What do you think, Mike? Was that an insane move on the part of Jerry Jones, or somehow is that going to work out even mildly in his favor? Is there any chance of that?
Well, Jerry's going to stick to his guns, and I think the trade was driven by the agent, who I think maybe Jerry felt was a little rude to him, and when he got the letter saying, stick it up your ass or whatever with the contract. So
probably didn't view that favorably. You're right. Yeah.
This is my thought. Is it a distraction, or does it motivate the Cowboys? And in this particular case, you have a guy who you don't know his back is right, and it's going to lead into my second pick of the day, that I believe that he's not 100%. So he's thinking about taking an epidural in the back before the game. I don't know. I just think that at this particular time, given a team like the Cowboys more than a touchdown, we're going to see their offenses should be lit up on the outside with the two receivers. I just really look at it like, yeah, Jerry might have made a mistake, or did he? And I think we're going to find out in time. If the Packers don't, people talking Super Bowl Packers, if they don't get there, is it the Micah Parsons effect? And again, I go back to my time with the Giants in the 80s. If Bill Parcells was having a player have his own podcast as a distraction, I wonder if that had something to do with it also. Micah expresses opinions about every other subject year round. And is it football focus, or is he focused on his brand? And I think maybe because Jerry's his way, moving him out of here might settle a few things with Dallas. Everything leans against the Cowboys, and that's why I like them.
All right. So we got a little bit of variety on this one. Troy and Mike taking the Dallas Cowboys, getting the 8.5 points, and Frank willing to lay up to 9.5 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and also as one of his elective games is going to go ahead and take the over in that game, as the Eagles and the Cowboys debut the NFL season tomorrow night. We're going to move on to Friday, and hopefully we'll get Troy back into the picture here. He's been In-N-Out Burger. That's where he should be broadcasting from, right? An In-N-Out Burger? I don't know. It's a West Coast thing. I'm not sure that they go all the way up the coast to the north or west in Seattle. So next game on the mandatory list, Chiefs and Chargers. That's Friday. Neutral site. They're playing that game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The Chiefs, of course, always going to be among the favorites to go and win the Super Bowl. Chargers, second year under Jim Harbaugh. Frankie, what's your viewpoint on this ball game? Willing to lay 3 with the Chiefs, or are you going to go ahead and take the points with the Chargers?
What's the spread? 3.5? I guess 3 at most places.
Yeah, I saw 3.
I bet you we'll go up to 3.5. All right. Either way, Kansas City has beaten the Chargers 7 in a row. And Kansas City in week 1 openers are 9-1 against the spread in the season openers. And I think we're going to buck the trend this year. It's a second year under Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert's on the improve, and I think he's going to take a step forward this year. And I think we're going to roll with the Chargers on the. Are we playing in Brazil? So we're on a neutral field. I'm going to take the Chargers in the 3. Hopefully, I'm going to wait until last minute. Hopefully, I can get 3.5, maybe minus 120. But I would like to take the 3 and a hook.
Are you inclined at all to
those Chargers? They seem to always win just enough,
Yeah.
Probably.
Are you inclined to buy points and lay a price to do that if you're not thrilled with the line?
No, very rarely have I ever bought points. I'm all about protecting the bankroll and not laying the extra vig at all. You can always find a different game to play.
All right, Mike, what do you think? Chargers and the Chiefs on Friday night.
Another interesting game, great division game. Thinking a little different here, Jeff. I'm actually looking at the total of 46. I look at these foreign games played on different surfaces that players aren't used to. We have perfect conditions here. This is going to be a soccer-based field. Is the grass high? Is it low? What are the conditions of the weather conditions down there? So we saw that happen in Ireland where Iowa State played Kansas State, and it looked like the field had something to do with it. We might see something similar down there with these international soccer fields and arenas down there as to what we'd see with the field conditions. So my thought is this. Jim Harbaugh might have to slow this down. He wants to run the football. He lost his left tackle. A lot of angles in this game to point toward Kansas City. As Frank said, 7 in a row by the Chiefs. Just find a neutral site. First time I go on a neutral site. A lot of hype on this game. Probably the pressure mounts more on Kansas City as a world attention of the Chiefs' success. They'll probably get more of attention in the league. I just look at this as I see a defensive battle. The Chiefs' defense has been fantastic over the last few years. I think Jim Harbaugh will slow the pace of the game down, try to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, won't be afraid to be more conservative at midfield, might punt the ball, play a more field position type game. So I'm looking at a 20-16 Chiefs win. So I don't feel real thrilled about that, but I do like the under 46.
All right, and with the 20-16 total that you're looking at, or score, then that would be Chiefs laying the 3 points, and but your real commitment is to the actual total, and you're going under on that proposition. All right, we'll try and catch up with Troy and get his opinion on that game. In the meantime, we're going to move to the college slate. And, well, I mean, last week we had all of these blockbuster games. This week we hardly have any. But probably the most attractive of them is Oklahoma and Michigan. Michigan opening up with a win. They have a $12 million quarterback who made his debut. He's now got to make his move on the road, take on an Oklahoma team that I had favored by, it was 6, and now I think it's down to 5 and a hook. So, Frank, where do you stand, Oklahoma and Michigan, with the Wolverines going on the road in this one?
One fun fact there, they haven't played since 1976. That's kind of crazy. That's a long time ago. But Brent Venable, he's got 3 championships. When he calls a D, he decided he's going to call the defense this year. And I think that's going to be beneficial for them. And Michigan has, a freshman quarterback. And Oklahoma has the quarterback that came in from Washington State. He's got more experience. So I kind of like Oklahoma at home. I'm being pretty chalky this week. Oklahoma at home, I think they have the edge in quarterback. I think they have the edge in defense. I think Oklahoma defense shuts them down. I'm going to take Oklahoma minus the 5. I think it's like 28-17.
Very nice. And what? It's Bryce Underwood, right? The quarterback, Mike, for Michigan, highly touted. There was some discussion, which I thought was pretty comical, that he was going to have to battle to get the starting job there. I'm thinking if I'm the booster to put up the $12 million for this kid, if this guy isn't starting, there are going to be a couple of buildings that get knocked down there on the campus. He was impressive. I talked to a big Michigan booster who was at the game. He said he was really, really amazed at how well this guy comported himself in his very first start, albeit against a far lesser caliber of opposition. What do you think about Oklahoma and Michigan in week number 2 of the college football season?
Fascinating game. Looked at this, immediately thought a 2.5 would be the number. My calculations had Oklahoma as a 2.5 point favorite. Yes, John Mateer with the experience, Underwood with a little more athleticism and a lot of pizzazz coming into this game. Tough for me to do it, but the key component to me is looking at the money line. So we looked at the money line today and we saw that Oklahoma's laying 195, which for a 5.5 point spread is a very short money line. The take back on Michigan was plus 170. So the price maker's basically telling you they're not going to give you a full-fledged price on Michigan on the money line where it should be around 210, 220. That made it fascinating to me to see it happens. I also see some 5s there. So if you're giving me 5.5, I'm going to say this. Brent Venables has struggled as a head coach. Big job going back to Oklahoma where he's had some success before he left from Clemson. I loved him. I wanted him to be hired in South Carolina. We passed on him, brought in Shane Beamer. Wasn't happy with it. The results have been a little better, and I think with Shane Beamer, an Oklahoma guy at that time too. So I'm just taking my chances that Sherrod Moore's experience and Michigan, what they've been through the last couple of years against Venable on the road, tough spot. Give me the 5.5 in a very highly competitive game of the week type style. Michigan will run the ball with success, I believe. And I think Underwood might be there to make the plays. And I think the key component also in this is what I brought out at the top of the show. Here they put him in against New Mexico in week 1, get his feet wet. He plays well. Your friend says all positives. That's what I think Mateer did with Illinois State. I think the 2 schools did the right thing, playing a lesser opponent. Now they get into the bigger game. And I think, to be honest, this game, just like I think with LSU Clemson, it's a crazy pick to think that Clemson might not get to the playoff. This is another game that I think the loser might be looking back at a playoff spot later when they come to head and look at head-to-head competition and tough losses. So I think it's a very important game for both schools. I'm going to take my chances in Michigan, not only win covers, but might get the outright win.
All right. A little contrarian point of view from Mike Jones so far on the show this week. And that's on the heels of his big 5-0 start to the season. Run break the bank.
I'm opposite all the 5-0 guy. Wish me luck.
Well, you were kind of opposite him last week. And it ended up
That's what I'm saying. Hopefully the trend
being
won't
a burial.
continue.
Don't worry, Frank. I have a horse for you tomorrow. At
Talk to me after 25 games. We'll be
There you go. That's the answer, Frank. Attaboy.
All right, we're still trying to dig up Troy West from the great city of Seattle, Washington. So hopefully we'll catch up with him. We'll get his picks on these community games. We do have a couple of elective games we're going to get from both of you guys. And like I said, we'll try and get Troy back with us on the show to see what he thinks about games that he was just free to choose from anywhere on the board. So, Frank, let's go with you. I know you already put one pick in there because you do like the over in that Eagles-Cowboys game as one of your selections. What else do you have for us to round out the 5 picks?
It's crazy. Like all my years of gambling, I'm always an under better. Like 90% of the time I'm betting unders. And especially with the NFL the last couple years. I know in 2023, I think it was like 12-4 to the under in week 1. Last year, I forget exactly, but I know my brother was always reminding me. He's like, Frank, look at all these damn unders come in every year in the first week. But the two picks that I'm giving away are overs. So Green Bay -2.5, Detroit over under 48.5. I think the Lions play at a high tempo. And last year, the Packers at home, they averaged 27 points at home all year. And I'm just going to go over the 48.5. I really think, I know it's week 1, but the over under I think should be like 53 at least. And I like the over.
There are many people that feel that Detroit's going to go backwards because they lost their 2 coordinators, Aaron Glenn now coaching the Jets, and Ben Johnson, head coach with the Chicago Bears. But we'll see what kind of influence they have there. I know Jet fans and the New York media are very optimistic that Glenn's going to somehow wave a magic wand over his team, and they're going to become an 8-win team, quite possibly, after really dragging their ass last year all around the National Football League. I'm not sure that I feel that strongly about Justin Fields at the quarterback position. That they have an interesting matchup in week number 1 as they go against Aaron Rodgers, who, of course, was with them last year and statistically had a pretty good year coming off that Achilles tear. But the general consensus seems to be that Dan Campbell, also known fondly as Man Campbell, may be able to beat his chest, and he may eat a wild live boar before the game to motivate his team, a la Jackie Sherrill. But do you see the Lions having to kind of, they were afflicted horribly by injuries last year, including Hutchinson, who's now back. But do you see, Frank, the Lions having the kind of season they had last year after losing the 2 coordinators who seemed to be so celebrated and obviously well-respected, enough so that they both got head coaching jobs? So we've seen that before where the Eagles had that happen to them, where there are 2 coordinators left, and people were doubting Sirianni, and he actually managed to have a really good season. What do you think about Detroit for the season proposition? Because, they're underdogs here in week number 1 to the Green Bay Packers on the road, but this was a team that was spectacular in the regular season last year.
Well, their over-under for the year is still really high, so I don't think they're going to fall off too much.
All right, so you don't think the coordinator loss is going to hurt Dan Campbell much? Because many people think he was just there kind of as a motivating figurehead and that he doesn't have that much influence. Mike, what do you think? Dan Campbell without their coordinators, and, of course, we want to get your free choice games
Sure.
here, and give the people something to round out your top 5.
Yeah, in response to I think Detroit is really, really good. I think they play hard. One of the great stats last year that occurred was they were 14-3 against the spread after you played. If you played them the week before, you were 3-14 against afterwards. So the physicality, the way that the Lions played you, had a wearing toll on you. I always think that that's a very important factor as teams get ready to prepare. They know they're going to be in for a physical battle. It's going to be a different type of game. It's going to be like the old Steelers-Ravens games when they got into it. So I have I can't wait for that game, which is a nationally televised game, Green Bay with all the new hype with Micah Parsons and Detroit. But I kind of like the Lions in this spot, only because they're coming back from a lot of injuries. I think their defense is going to be a lot better. McNeil and Hutchinson make a huge difference. McNeil was an absolute star in the making until he got hurt about week 11 or 12. I think he went down. I know the Hutchinson injury was devastating to the Lions. So I think those key injuries, a couple linebackers went out. They lost a couple of guys in their secondary. I think they're bringing it all back together. They're going to be healthy. Week 1, I like them plus the 2.5 because of the hype of all what the Packers are dealing with, and the Lions have struggled there for decades. I think they lost 20-something in a row at one point, And now all of a sudden they're starting to find that reversal where they're catching the Packers a little bit, getting their number. I kind of like the Lions in this spot week 1 when no one thinks they got a shot. All the momentum's with Green Bay. Very similar to Philadelphia. I'm going to take my shot with the road dog, a team that last year probably everybody thought was going to win the championship when the injuries derailed them. A healthy team. And I just seem to like Dan Campbell, the old school coach. The guys seem to rally around him to play for him. I think unlike the Sirianni situation where he was losing those coordinators, he didn't have this establishment type relationship with his toughness going. The Lions haven't won anything. Philly had won things before. I kind of look at this as being that this is the Lions fans' last hope. This is the team they think they can get them over the top, get them to the big game. I'm not saying they get there, but I think it doesn't go railing against them week 1. I think they steal one in Green Bay.
All right. Now we want to give you your 2 free plays. I don't know if that was one of them, but
that was one of them. Plus
so you do like the Lions.
Led you right into it. You led me right into it.
I see. We think alike. I'm reading your mind here. All right. So where else are you going to go for the fans to make some money out there?
All right. I'm going to turn around right now and bring in my rings and my Giant paycheck. And we're going to start it right off. You're going to hear a lot of Giant games, and some are going to be before and some are going to be against with me. But I'm probably going to make a pick on them for the show probably once a week. A little biased, but the big gunner's going at it, and here it comes. So the Giants have had success against the Commanders over the last decade. We're 14-8-1 over the last 23 meetings, 3-2 under Brian Dable, the only team he's got a winning record in the division. We play them tough. Last year we went down there. We were the first team in history to score 3 touchdowns against a team that did not score 1 and lose a game. Second game, we were within 5 points, 27-22, and the Commanders were this great team and making a run to the championship game that they did. So the Giants have always played them tough, and we've had great success. Even Daniel Jones won down beat the Commanders. So I feel very comfortable in this spot. I, again, like the fact of opening up with a division game right away on the road. And I think when you're trying to catch fire, the Giants had a really successful preseason. I think the culture is starting to change around this program. I think our defensive pass rush, everybody's talking about it, could be one of the better ones in the league. And I'm sitting here looking at us as a 6.5 point favorite. I took them at +7. Now we're dropping 6. So people are liking it. And a lot of sharp people. I listen to all the VSiN networks. All these people are talking about, the Giants in this spot and telling them that they should be careful about taking the Commanders. I go back to the division record. Dogs in division games week 1 are 66% over the last decade. The Dogs are successful week 1. We saw what happened in the suicide pools. First 3 weeks, I think over 80% of the tickets were done. Don't be too careful on the Giants. Don't sleep on the Giants in this particular game. I think we've solved our quarterback issue with Russell Wilson, be able to get neighbors open, throw the deep ball. I think if we find a way to protect and keep them upright, we're going to have a real chance in this game. Jaden Daniels is fantastic. I kind of see, I don't know if we win, maybe a 23-20 Commanders win, but I think the Giants stay within the 6.
All right. Taking your beloved New York Giants. That's not a sentimental pick. Billy Walters would tell you, hey, never bet with your heart. Always just go by the numbers. No. And, so you've been a strong backer of the New York Giants all along, and they did name Dart their backup quarterback. So he's essentially one play away from going out there and sniffing the field in his rookie season, as they moved Jameis Winston back to number 3. I thought that was a pretty good pickup by them to get Jameis Winston. You think they're going to trade Winston, because there was some speculation that they might do it before the season for somebody that was looking to get a lead on and grab a backup quarterback that at least had some proven level of competence at the NFL level.
My fascination with the whole Jameis Winston story started in Cleveland. Remember, everybody go back and remember 2019, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Here comes Tom Brady, right? Brady saw it. Great talent on the outside, probably the best receiving core he ever played with. A lot of talent. He built the offensive line. They had a good pass rush, good defense. Bruce Arians established. That was all a setup. So just think about it. Winston had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions that last year on a 7-8 and 7-9 football team. I look at this when he went to Cleveland last year and some of the attitude, the aura around him. He won big games. He beat Pittsburgh. He beat Baltimore. Division games that are very important, even though the Browns struggled. When the Giants signed him, we signed him before Russell Wilson. I was intrigued by just the kind of culture guy he becomes. And what I had heard is that the quarterback room in the Giants is taking an about change. Bubbly personality, 3 amigos talking. So I think what happened is all that made Tommy DeVito exposed. I don't think the Giants really wanted to get rid of the heartwarming story of Tommy DeVito, but I think the Jameis Winston's culture, locker room wise, the veteran leadership, I think is what the Giants are trying to establish. A lot of emotion on the sidelines. I don't remember any of that till I tried to establish in 1984. Everybody excited. Players jumping on the field with other players. I think this is kind of catchy. I go back to the first year of Brian Dable. He goes for 2 against Tennessee in week 1 in Tennessee after Tennessee had just had home field throughout the playoffs a year before. Decides and tells his team, we're going to go for 2 and win the game. Gives a pitch to Barkley. He scores. We win. We make the playoffs. Maybe something like this carries some momentum. You get something going early. You win a couple games. Maybe the successful preseason did it. Now, Giants won the 3 preseason games by 60 or more points. History, there have been 9 teams that have done it since 2009. 6 teams made the playoffs, 2 after the Super Bowl, 11 win average. So all this stuff says the preseason doesn't matter. I'm going to throw some facts out there and says maybe it does give us a little boost. And so I think the Jameis Winston thing is all one of these components that we didn't want to get rid of him because of those reasons, that he is providing a great locker room environment and bringing culture and a great positive attitude to the team.
I love, I guess you get a lot of this in New Jersey, Frankie, that DeVito story. And I keep saying he went from Rayos to Ragu after he finally got benched. And now he's a Patriot. So we wish him well. Real good story. Living with his mom to eat the chicken cutlets and that whole thing. I don't know how significant it'll be that he's now a New England Patriot because they're obviously hoping that Drake May has a big season and can carry them. And that's a team that as Charles Dickens, like great expectations all of a sudden. Is Mike Vrabel, did I miss something? Is he the second coming of Vince Lombardi? I don't know. Do you think the Patriots are, people are predicting 8-9 wins for this team this year? What do you think, Frank?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, buddy.
Patriots. Everybody's optimistic about the New England Patriots this year. And I don't know that the addition of Tommy DeVito makes that much difference on the roster, but I was amazed at how highly coveted Mike Vrabel was as a head coach. Does he boost their chances of winning that much? Or I guess there was reason to be optimistic some of the way they performed last year.
Yeah, well, as a Jet fan, we're never rooting for the Patriots. And I'll be honest, I'm really not prepared to answer that question right now, buddy. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
All right.
It's week 1. You got to let me dip my toe in here.
Jeff, let me jump in on that because I find this to be a very fascinating story. So, so let's go back a year ago. So Robert Kraft doesn't interview anybody and gives the job to Jared Mayo.
Yeah,
I met a coach who worked on that with Mayo last year, playing around the golf here in South Florida, and I started asking questions, like if you didn't mind answering them, about what happened there, what went on. He had a quarterback. The team improved. They were very competitive in most games. Had some injuries. I thought that getting rid of Mayo was really a surprise. Now they come in, they do the small interview process, but Mike Vrabel was his guy. He had shared that with me. They wanted Vrabel from the very beginning. He took the time off. They had signed Mayo. So I think this was kind of orchestrated. The minute Mike Vrabel became available, that he was going to become a Patriot head coach. I think they just had to wait because of, the Rooney rules or things that might have happened if they wanted to try it. But I was very surprised to see Jared Mayo get axed. I thought they were coming. I thought they found their quarterback. And I think this is a really interesting part that I think Mike Vrabel is really part of this whole jump from 5.5 wins, 5-win team to an 8.5 win total. I think it's all based on this. And now you also have Frank's beloved Jets that only have a 5.5 win total. And as I look down here, I look at the Miami Dolphins. They're struggling. They're one injury away from their struggles, right? So Miami, the Dolphins have an 8.5 win total plus 140. So they're thinking the Dolphins will struggle to get to 500. So who's going to come by and take these wins in the division? So if you figure New England gets 4-2 in the division, 3-3, 4-2, and they have a lighter schedule, I think we play them on Monday night later in the season, then the schedule might line up for them if that's where I think the success will come. But it's really going to come down to, does Tua get hurt? Where the Dolphins are? Dolphins solid defense, a little bit worried on offense, lost a running back, offensive line issues. Where the Jets are coming with a new head coach. Mike McDaniel actually is number 1 on the list to be axed first. So all these different things line up for the Patriots to probably look at a second-place finish. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I'm a Vrabel fan, but I think that's what you're really seeing with them, people looking toward the Patriot future.
All right. Well, while we're in that division, I had a friend text me, and he says that the whole world is on the idea that the Buffalo Bills will reverse the trend and finally get that Super Bowl win that they've been looking for forever. And many people feel out of the AFC it'll be the Bills, and out of the NFC, Philadelphia. That seems to be the most commonly made match of people that are asked to predict who's going to be in the Super Bowl and who's going to win it. Any feelings on that, Frank, about who's going to ultimately take away the championship this year?
I'll definitely be rooting for Josh Allen for sure. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, definitely Josh Allen. We're going to go Bills, Eagles. Bills, Eagles.
Bills, Eagles. All right, yeah, that's the common denominator. Another friend, yeah, that same guy actually was saying that he thinks Washington might be able to capitalize on what they did last year. There are other people that theorize that Jaden Daniels, Mike, is going to bounce off that year, as a lot of people do, and not be as impactful as he was a year ago. Any thoughts about what the matchup will be and who's going to be the ultimate champion?
Well, the Josh Allen story is just fantastic. Can he get by Patrick Mahomes? And that's what it's going to come down to. Does he win that game? Is that in his head? We've seen Allen in these big games kind of make mistakes. Last year had a very unfortunate drop by Kincaid in that game against Kansas City. Maybe an unfortunate bad spot call on the 4th down run. Maybe that was the year he got him there. Again, do you stay healthy throughout the year? It's going to come down to injuries. How's their offensive line holding up? A couple of changes on the front line they're going to have to adjust. I like their draft. A lot of defensive players that might have looked at help their interior line and linebackers. Their secondaries got bad. They went back, got Tre'Davious White back. Well, all the signs are pointing to them. Maybe a lighter division schedule than they normally have had in the past. So the things are lining up. Does Josh Allen handle that pressure? Can he get over that hump? Might be just the championship game that might be the relief. The Super Bowl might be, even though anticlimactic after he gets by a win with Mahomes. A lot of these things that are going to happen, I think, really are important to watch. I don't know. Here's my thought, though. I'm going to go way off the record and think that maybe it's Lamar Jackson's time. The Derrick Henry factor, the fact that the Ravens are closer, have been there before recently with their head coach and won. And, just a really tough spot. I've just never been – Lamar and Josh go through this phase in big games where they struggle. So week 1, that matchup is very intriguing. We always say every game's important. These division games and these games week 1 or these highly competitive teams, these head-to-heads might come between home field advantage later on in the season. So we'll keep an eye on that game Sunday night. I'm going to say Baltimore and Philly get to the Super Bowl, which was everybody's fun pick last year. Philly only gets there based on the fault that everybody happens. But as far as Washington goes, is there a sophomore jinx that we always heard? I think the key factor with the Commanders is they're not going to sneak up on anybody like they did last year. I was a huge Jaden Daniels fan at LSU, thought he was the best player in college football, thought he should have been picked over Caleb Williams. Obviously made that throw that got him on a national stage, that Hail Mary he made against the Bears to beat them in a game they shouldn't have lost anyway. They just didn't execute. But I think all this stuff happens. The pressure now a little bit more on Washington. I love their organization as a whole, the new ownership and all that. They're going to be very tough out. 2 teams in my division I'm going to be competing 4 times against. Can't wait for all those games. I just don't know that they're ready to take that step yet, it seems like. So I'm going to say Baltimore, Philly.
Baltimore, Philly is your matchup. Baltimore plus 650 to win the Super Bowl, along with Buffalo. Those are the 2 favorites. Philadelphia plus 700. Washington, you're getting 20-1. Cincinnati, 2250. Do we discount the Bengals? They have such a dynamic offense. They did manage to keep their lone defensive player that was of any distinction as they signed Hutchinson. But I don't know, Frank. What you feeling? Any thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals as possibly maybe making a breakthrough this year with that dynamic offense they have with Burrow and Chase and company?
Yeah, with Burrow, Chase, and company, I think maybe they can get 11 wins, but I think that's about it for the season.
Okay, not high on the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, you mentioned the survivor pool, suicide pools. That's one of my favorite things. Are you inclined to play in survivor pools, Frank? Do you dabble in that at all? Trying to pick one team to win with no point spread, and then, of course,
I haven't done it in like 10 years, but back in the day, I would usually buy like 40 boxes. So say it was like $100 entry.
Yeah,
I would get like 40 boxes, and then I would take like 5 teams week 1. So I'd put eight. I divide it into 5. So I'd have 8 on this, 8 on that, 8 on that. So I'd go like 4 for 5, and I'd carry 32 to the next week. and I won like four or five survivor pools. I never won the whole thing. I split it with multiple people many times, but I would always buy the schedule. I would have the schedule laid out ahead of time, and I would try to figure out what I think the odds were going to be for each game, and I would fix my. Either way, I can get to the damn end of the survivor pool lots of times and cash out. I don't have the gift of gab like Mikey over here. He's schooling me.
Oh no, he's fantastic, this guy. But he's been doing this for like 40 years. The guy, he grew up. I think he's the son of a bookmaker. But and my theory on it was always this: if you're going to be in a survivor pool and have one entry, let's say, and there's some really big pots that can be gained. What is it? What's the place in Vegas? Is it Westgate? Who has the big survivor pool out
Circa's got 15 million in it this year. Yep. 15 million in Circa. Yep.
And it's amazing how difficult it is. A friend of mine a long time ago in the radio business turned me on to this, and he used to conduct one on his show, and it was incredible how few people could actually get to like week number 3.
Yeah.
Even picking games with no point spread shows you how treacherous it can be if you're betting with confidence against the spread or factoring in the point spread. But my theory was always this: make sure you don't use the game with the biggest spread the first week of the season. And hope that team goes down. It might have been the Bengals last year, whoever it was.
That's exactly right. The Bengals were the number 1 team playing at home against the Patriots. Patriots beat them 16-10. And then in week 2, the Raiders went to Baltimore and won. They were a 9-point dog, and ended up beating them. And I think maybe 60% of the people were out of the pool just on those 2 games. So your thought is right. My survivor bet this week, I think it's a no-brainer. You don't know where Denver's going to go. You have a rookie quarterback in Tennessee heading out to Denver to play in Mile High against that top-ranked defense, healthy week 1. Does Cam Ward go in and break the bank? That's what I think would be the number 1 bet game. The other game we're hearing, obviously, for some people, is Philadelphia is a highly bet game that they think that, they're going to go in there with all the disruption in Dallas, probably get the early win. But in these rules, you can't use these teams only but once.
Yes.
When you use Philadelphia now, when you might need them later in the year when they're on a roll. So you look for other ones. One team that I see bet awful lot, everybody's down in New Orleans. A lot of people high on Arizona. Do you lay 6.5 on the road at New Orleans? So a lot of people are saying Arizona for the survivor pool. I hear some people picking that game. So to me, the bet would be Denver, just because I know the record is 3-41 with rookie quarterbacks week 1 on the road winning those games. I think there's 16% cover in those spots. So the numbers show that Denver should be okay in this particular game. I don't see Sean Payton getting out coached in week 1. I think the hype there is for them, and I think really the lack of unexpected. And then when I saw the line go to 8.5, 9, I felt like, oh, okay, so everybody's seeing this my way, which is always dangerous too. So that's kind of what I think about the survivor pool this week. Denver would be my team.
Yeah, when you go against the grain like that, don't take the most popular game. And it was remarkable last year because I remember following that. You were right, Mike. 2 weeks in a row, the biggest favorite went down in flames on the money line. And that Circa pool went from having thousands of entrants down to a scant few after just 2 weeks of the regular season with no point spread. All right, I got one for you, Frankie. This is for your wagering action tomorrow. Kentucky Downs, race number 9. This came from a pretty good source. And one good thing about Kentucky Downs, they've changed the camera angles a little bit. So, and Mike, I know you dabble in horse racing. You would be watching these races at Kentucky Downs. Phenomenal purses. They only run for about 8 days, I think, across a couple of weeks. And the purse money is so huge. You get the top horses and jockeys competing there. Maiden races are going for hundreds of thousands of dollars in purse money, and a stakes race. I mean, on each card, it easily eclipses just about any other racetrack you would see in terms of purse money. So the pick here in race number 9 from a reliable source tomorrow, you can write this down. Use the 4 and the 5 Greyouche 4-1, not big prices here, and Vice Veuve, Veuve, 5-2. Key them in that race in everything. Pick 1, 2, double daily doubles, exactas, pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s, whatever you can get. Use the 4 and the 5 there.
I'll have to look at the PPs and see if I okay this.
Yeah, 4 and 5, race 9, Kentucky Downs tomorrow. I'm telling you, it's coming from a good source here, and
all right.
and regardless of how you do on all of these football plays, you're going to come away with a little bit of capital if you use those two horses. All right, guys, what game is going to attract most of your attention, just in terms of viewership and being a fan, Mike? Well, I know where you're going to be, but
but I'm gonna say the Lions Packers, the doubleheader game on Sunday is really going to get me intrigued, just because to see where the Lions are with all their injuries and what the expectations of last year, being the favorite, I think, going into the playoffs. And then the Packers, to see where the momentum is. Does Micah play? The hype surrounding that game, and that would be the game outside of the Giants Commanders, which will be the Giants every week for me. That'll be the most intriguing spot.
Yeah, I'm surprised this game hasn't drawn more attention. I would imagine it'll be the focus of your viewing pleasure there, Frank, because Aaron Rodgers going against the New York Jets. How great of a storyline is that?
Honestly, I don't even really want to think about the Jets right now. I just want to win this Eagles game over Dallas, man. After the last few Jet seasons, do we really even give a shit anymore? Excuse my language.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. Let them tease me some more. Let them win a few games, then I'll start paying attention.
I got a question. What do you think of the hire of Aaron Glenn?
Well, we're going to have to find out, but it looks like he's going to be like a good conservative coach. Hopefully he's going to run the ball and do clock management, and let's pray that something works out for us Jet fans.
Yeah,
I see all my older friends, like, they never saw a Super Bowl. Like, some of them are dropping dead. It's like, just sucks being a Jet fan all these years.
Yeah, there are many people that say
what have we done?
The last big game they played was in 1969. I happened to be working at Shea during that year as a vendor, and I will never forget it, because I was downstairs at a souvenir stand that I was running by Gate D, and this was in the '68 AFC Championship game when Namath hit Don Maynard with a pass in the corner to get by a game that looked like they were certain to lose, and the noise in the stadium actually shook as I was standing down there at the bottom, and when the people came pouring out, it was absolutely incredible. And then, of course, Namath had the big prediction there that they would beat what looked to be an invincible Baltimore Colts team. Don Shula never got over it. I got to know Shula. I interviewed him many, many times. And if you ever brought up Joe Namath to him, he immediately coiled backwards and said, kind of implied, hey, can't you come up with a better question than that? Because he never quite got over that. But that was the last big moment. What are we talking about here? 31 plus.
Come on now. My guy Parcells took you to the championship game in the late 90s with Vinny Testaverde. So you guys had a chance. And you had that. I think you were up 10-0 in that game against Denver, too. So the Jets have.
I thought I was going to the AFC Championship game. I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right, guys. Good luck with all your plays. We're sorry we weren't able to connect with Troy West. He was getting nothing but static out there in Seattle, Washington. I think they did something to his internet access, because he dissed Starbucks. I believe that's blasphemy if you're out there in Seattle, Washington. So hopefully we'll catch up with Troy next week. Frank, good job today. Bet those two horses at Kentucky Downs. Mike, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow on various other programs. And for Troy, who we only had a glimpse of, Frank G. and Mike Jones, I'm Jeff DeForrest. We'll catch you next week right here on Bleacher Brothers with the next edition of Break the Bank.